The Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has announced that the recent hike in the electricity tariff will affect about 1.9 electricity consumers. The tariff hike is aimed at reducing the estimated 2.9 trillion naira electricity subsidy in the 2024 fiscal year. The hike became necessary due to cash flow constraints as a result of the federal government's inability to pay its obligation to the Nigeria electricity market. Recall that the NERC, that's the Regulatory Commission, on Tuesday increased the electricity tariff for Band A customers by 230% from 68 naira per kilowatt hour to 225 naira per kilowatt. Band A customers are those who receive an average daily supply of electricity for 20 hours or more. With a new order issued by the Regulatory Commission, Band A customers will no longer enjoy federal government subsidies on electricity. The Regulatory Commission explained that subsidy payments across the bands have become unsustainable. Chartered Accountant and Public Affairs Analyst Olusegun Ogunade joins us in the studio to talk more about this decision by the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Vero. Good morning, Shita.
Good morning to you.
Mr. Ramadan Karim, at least those of us that were fasting.
I can see. So that is reflecting on your cheeks.
Right. Anyway, this morning I was telling Shita that perhaps I have been upgraded to Band A. I don't know, but I know that they have been downgrading and upgrading certain persons. But that's not the issue. Let's begin with this matter of government's decision to have a cost-reflective tariff, saying that some persons can no longer have to pay for this government's services, and they can no longer be enjoying the subsidies. Recall that even our last guest was talking about it. He says it's discriminatory. Why are you classifying us as being on certain levels? You should have, a flat rate perhaps. But explain to us this matter of cost-reflective tariff. Nigerians have been speaking about it and do not seemingly understand the direction of government with achieving this cost-reflective tariff that offers value.
Thank you very much, Vero, and a very beautiful question. First and foremost, the news of the increase of tariff on Band A came with mixed feelings. Knowing very well that I play in the sector, we have certain issues. I added that, firstly, the issue of subsidy is something we've actually been talking about, that the cost at which we are having the electricity as we speak is not sustainable. But we have put it across, and with due respect to my minister, who happens to be a senior colleague, I was expecting more transparency with what we are known for in accounting, to say, these are the figures, this is how we arrive at this, to give us that the subsidy that we are going to pay will be like this. I'm sure as at last we were talking about 700 million, and all of a sudden we moved to about 2.9 to 3.something trillion. And people are asking question, what actually is the basis of this? Because we have seen repeatedly system collapse in the last few months, which has necessitated several people not having, the basic thing that is expected. Coming back to the issue of Band A, Band B, Band C, some of us have said it, that there are basic things that needed to be addressed before we come to this issue of cost-reflective or service-reflective stuff that needs to be happened. First and foremost, in the last few months, we've seen a situation where there have been suspension on the payment for meters. And the question we first asked, on what premise, with due respect, do my minister add the basis that we are wasting supply? The fact remains that if I don't have anything to account for the usage of my electricity, I'm bound to waste it.
Right.
The fact is, everyone that, as will speak, is metered would dare not waste electricity. And if you decide to waste it, it's none of my prerogative. You have the funds and you decide to waste it. In the sense that you will pay for it. If you have a prepaid meter and you decide to on your AC, that you feel that it must be cool 1 hour before you come in, you are paying for it. At that point, we're talking of cost reflected. That means as you're using it, you're paying for it. You see, there are certain set of people with the cost of petroleum as we speak. Their driver knows that when Oga wakes up, as you hear, good morning, sir, you must go to the car and on the engine. And it must be, running to cool the system before you come in. Will you say the person is wasting it? He has the finance and he must do it. And so, when you want to talk about cost effectively, the first thing I was expecting the minister to react to is you have lingered so much in detaining people not to have access to meters. The last time Mr. Odunton, he keeps saying that we need to close the metering gap. What are the policies? Since January till now, a lot of people has been on our neck. Can we have access to meter? Several people, there was a time a policy came up that if you have your building construction and you don't have meters, you will not be connected to grid. As a matter of fact, the discos are willing to, but it's the customers that are refusing because they don't want estimated billing. So I feel the first thing we need to do first is to address the issue at which we can account for the energy that we are all using. There was a policy in place then that every DT, distribution transformer in your area is being metered. And it's on that premise we can account for what is going there. And they will tell you that for those people that are on prepaid, you don't have problem. But as soon as we are able to say you have 5,000 kilowatts being read on the meter, central, on the DT, the remaining people who are not on prepaid are given the estimated billing. That was what they are. But NERC came up and said, no, you need to cap whatever you're doing. So you discover that there is conflicting policies in the way we are managing things. But I feel that the first thing, a lot of people have been asking me questions. You play in the sector. When are we going to have access to meter? Some of them, their meter are bad. They want to replace it so that they can, they've enjoyed prepaid in time past and they want to replace it at their own cost. But they are not having access to it. I think that is an area.
Meters are not available at all?
The fact is, we have the meters asset provider. They came up with it to say, because most of these things are imported, and it relies on foreign exchange. And they came up and they said the cost is really not sustainable. We cannot pay, we cannot bring in the meter at which, because as at the time when meter was fixed for 79,000, which was raised last year, September, dollar was raised to over 700. And all of a sudden it moved to 1,900. And you expect the cost of meter to be the same. And they came out and said it's not going to work. So they went to NERC, and since last year, December till now, we've not had a word from that. And you can imagine the number of consumers that are on estimated billing that you are moving. Even if somebody is on band A, as we speak, and does not have a meter, how do you account for it? You give him estimated billing on something he cannot even vouch for. So I think the first thing we need to address here is the issue of the minister coming to tell the regulators, can we look for a way to close the gap? And I think the part that my friend Abdullah Amin said of discrimination, I look at the basis of which saying feeder. I'm sure you know that feeder is a mix of both the elites and the less privileged. Right. So when you say you are actually looking at this feeder, putting them on band A, you have a woman that is selling pepper on that same feeder.
Right.
And you have someone who is high class, like my friend that just left on premium, on the same feeder.
You are exposing him more.
He's not here to defend himself.
No, but you and I know that he's on premium. So the truth of it is, when you are talking about feeder, I was thinking that we should look at the distribution transformer and let it be service oriented. We can be on the same feeder providing certain things, but we don't have equal, because what they are trying to do is that the elites that we are giving so much supply should pay more. Yeah. But I've asked the question that it's not only the elite that are on that feeder. Yeah. We have mixed people. Right. You've not been able to segregate them. Separate them. So if you are coming to say a woman selling pepper is on the same feeder with the elite on that party, and you expect that woman that was struggling to pay 5,000 per month to come up and pay about 20-something to 30 with this hardship. or do not even have the boldness to even pay for meter. She does not even have meter to account for what he's doing. I think the regulators, the minister, should look for a way to solve the problem of some of these disco. When we actually privatize the sector, we expected more results because we're expecting so much investment to see how the distribution arm will work. We learned that a lot has been generated. The transmission is wheeling out so much. But most of the time you hear that the disco are even rejected because of the ATC losses that they are backing on. So I think first area I feel the minister, of which a lot of us have been yearning for, is that how do the member of the populace have access to meters so that you and I will not have basis of arguing. And if you and I, if Vero and you are staying in a particular area, and we observe that in the last 1 month, Vero just purchased 50,000, and you have actually vended for like 200,000, and you are using the same, almost the same load assessment, there should be question to investigate what has actually dropped that. And that's where monitoring comes in. We must be able to monitor to later, and that's why we have said decentralize this issue of metering and franchise to people. Let there be sub-metering. Let the disco be faced with that approach of saying we will build this transformer. Then we can have individual that will venture into metering. That I know it's my business that if I have this DT being monitored by me, I have to monitor all. Then I'm closer to the people. I'm not saying the business hub or the service centers are not doing their job. But when the business are in the hand of the people that know what they have invested, there will be close monitoring. There are serious lacuna. And I can say it for free that a lot of prepaid meters as we speak that are being bypassed that the discos are not even aware of.
Absolutely.
So how do you bridge this gap? You must bring it down to the bottom line in such a way that you and I become police officer on what is going on in our vicinity, right, and the disco can enjoy the revenue that is expected of them.
Some of the opinion that perhaps we don't have enough power to go around. That is the reason why we are dilly-dallying, saying that we'll build certain people will not get it. That's why some are alleging discriminatory practices. How much do we generate as megawatts to even start with?
Yeah.
If we say we don't have that amount of megawatts to generate to go around, is that probably the reason why we are not exactly sure what we want to do?
Before you respond, let's quickly go on this break. When we return, we'll continue from when it stopped. Stay with us.
Here's what a good hair day looks like and feels like with the new Lush Hair Care range, made with a cocktail of nature's finest oils. With hibiscus oil for hair growth, rooibos oil to eliminate frizz, amla oil to prevent hair breakage, to give your hair life and bounce. So go ahead and be confident.
Stunning, flawless, beautiful.
You deserve a soft life, so does your hair. Lush Hair. Be beautiful.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr Cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
All right, thank you for staying with us. We're looking at the matter of the electricity tariff hike, and we still have our guest, Olusegun Okwande, in the studio, engaging us on the nitty-gritties of how things have emerged. But Ibrahim, have asked the question.
Let us speak it from where we left off. I was trying to find out exactly why we're having this, forth and back, as saying that, okay, you are saying we don't even have enough meter. I'm of the opinion that, or I'm asking that, do we even have enough megawatts to go around? Maybe that's the reason why we're having this forth and back. Let's talk about how much do we generate, how much do we distribute, how much do we transmit, and then before we talk about putting certain people on band A or even talking about increasing our tariff?
Thank you very much, Shita. Truth be told, that we've increased our capacity of generation to about more than 12,000 megawatts in the last few years, but the production have not exceeded beyond 4,000 megawatts that we are currently transmitting and distributing to the DISCO by the last data that I had. And that on its own for a country of over 200 million populace is nothing to go by when you compare us with our peers, even in Africa, not to go to Europe or China. Yeah. And I think a lot is actually being invested in that area to make sure that we increase the production capacity, at least to the installed capacity of the generation that we have, about 12,000, and be able to wield it to the distribution company. I feel it's one of the reasons, because even currently, so many DISCOs are doing load shedding. Even with the few that they are getting, they are doing load shedding in several areas. And with this discrimination that we have seen, as mentioned by my friend, for a business person, you see more being channeled to those people that are paying more because you have guaranteed revenue. And that on its own will be a slight on other citizens that might be interested. There are a lot of people who are in other bands, band B, band C, band D, that what they actually need is they are within that purview of 8 hours supply. They are fine. 10 hours supply, they're fine.
That's the question.
But the issue is...
Band E, they don't get at all.
Well, if you're on the social media on the light almost there, several people are asking that they've not had supply for 3 days. They brought the supply, and after 10 minutes, they took the supply.
What do you call that?
What band are they?
And that's where I find myself.
Yeah.
Where you find having about 20 hours a day, and now
I don't know.
It's just like
I was upgraded, because I know recently they were downgrading some people from band A to B, C, D.
With the DISCO where you exist, just punching your meter number to give you your band where you are. But the one people are asking is that these are part of the things we've been saying before now, that make those things available and look for ways. Let there be policy to actually decentralize some of these things. I've spoken about the issue of meters. You can also protect your revenue. I speak more in the area of revenue, because when you provide those things and you don't provide a secured way to secure your revenue, you discover that most of the investors will not be able to recoup back their investment, and that will be enough discouraging factor. And that's why we said, can we have franchising of some of these things so that the DISCO can look at how they can ask for more from the DISCO? Because a lot of ATC losses on the part of the DISCO is really discouraging them from taking more from the grid. And that's why you see repeatedly system collapse, because the system expected so much to be wheeled out, but because there is refusal in picking up by the DISCO, he sensed it and he throws the system off, and you get those collapses. So I want to say that the federal government or the regulators should be looking in line of how can we further decentralize that power that we have in the hands of the DISCO. The DISCO should be looking at areas of bringing more people into the network and see. A lot of estates are enjoying some of this electricity. Why? They are being bulk billed, and the DISCO has no knowledge how they share their bills. They give it to the third leg, who are the metering agencies, to see where they can come in. Those people, they give them 24, so they don't even know whether they are on NEPA or whether they are on alternative power supply. All they know is that they have a constant power supply from the DISCO, and that is being carried out by the third leg. The DISCO is just concerned about having my bill. This transformer that is feeding you people in this estate, 1, 2, 3. This is the bill I'm expecting from you this month. How you get it resolved, I care less. But those other agencies, who are the submetering agent, arm of the DISCO, what they do is they go in, roll out those meters for those estates, they vend on their platform, and they are able to monitor activities closely. Part of the things that I feel we are having currently is there is serious gap in monitoring of the activities that are going on. You can hear so much meters has been installed, but the DISCO will tell you that they are not recouping what is expected of them. And an average man on the road will say, no, Well, the reason why they don't want to give us prepaid is they are enjoying estimated billing. But I've said it times to that number. So when it comes to the issue of prepaid, it's give and take. We've seen instances where people were actually being estimated in a very low value. On getting the prepaid meter, they will say, no, I don't want again. This meter is running fast. No meter is running fast. It's the usage. And that's where you see the disco getting. And every other person will start looking for a way to shortchange the disco at the detriment of the growth of the economy.
So invariably, if I hear you correctly, what we should do is we should address the challenges within the sector before we look at perhaps increasing
it.
Prices or tariff.
Yeah, that's my own perception to it. When you make those things available, I mean supply, and you are able to put the basic infrastructure that will enhance the trust of your customers, then you can go ahead. I've seen a lot of people that say we don't have problem with the issue of increasing the price, but make it available. Because I can tell you for free that the cost of alternative power supply is huge. Because the
government is still talking about Nigerians should expect increment in perhaps the coming days with regards to tariff.
Every other person that bands will be.
I know, we've only settled band A. So those that are rejoicing in band B.
But if that is not at the end of the day resulting in me getting value, what then is the essence of paying so much?
That is the area we are actually picking up on the government to say, make this thing available. I've seen a lot of people, even with this increment, telling you that we don't even mind. I know I earn less, but I need this power for other things that I need to do.
Why I asked that question is because even the minister was complaining about infrastructure, how it is that for over 60 years, there are some particular structures that are still there, is what we're still using.
Is that not the reason why we actually privatize the disco?
And then he talked about the fact that there's not much pressure with regards to the gas, the vandalization of some of these things. How do we begin to address these issues? What should the government do to address the major issue, which is infrastructure at the end of the day, from my point of view?
Yeah, Vero, if I pick up on the issue of repeated vandalism of some of these stations, you ask yourself, if you observe a problem, what are we doing to integrate with the security apparatus? The electricity workers will not protect themselves. So if you observe...
The papers this morning, they are saying that they are threatening to withdraw their services, electricity workers.
Because if you are not guaranteed the safety, what is the reason why you go to work? You are here today because you are the understanding that you are safe in the environment where you are working. But instances where you see vandalism carrying on overnight within the space of 10, and people that are coming to vandalize it are well, equipped, well armed, that you don't have anything to fortify them. I think the area is, how can we collaborate with the security agency to protect our infrastructure, even the existing one? A lot of vandalism that is costing us so much that we would have used in developing the sector. It's the problem we are faced with. Today, this is gone. Tomorrow, this is down. And you need to spend. The other time, the minister was telling us that it cost us over 110 million to bring back a particular substation that was down. If you have monitored that well, that fund would have used possibly in initiating another substation that will give more value to the consumer, rather than we spending money on some of those things that we regard as obsolete, which you have said. And don't forget, the reason of privatizing some of those things is for investors to come in and improve on infrastructure.